Ariana Grande has done it again. Eternal Sunshine Deluxe Brighter Days Ahead is a reissue of her seventh record, an already monumental divorce record chronicling Grande's journey through Saturn return and finding new love. She adds 6 new tracks. One of them is an extended version of the intro and 5 new songs. On top of that, she released a brilliant, partly self-directed short film, Brighter Days Ahead. Compared to my other reviews, where I try to rush it and get it out the day of, I wanted to take some time to look at the new tracks in the film, and in this video, I'm gonna look into those tracks, talk about the short movie, and issue the project a brand new score. So let's get started. But before we start, I wanted to do a quick recap. The Deluxe was teased for quite a while, even as early as last year. Eternal Sunshine was already successful. It had 2 #1 hits, and the record itself actually hit #1. Promotion continued into the summer with The Boy's Mind, but eventually the cycle died down to accommodate Grande's role as Glinda in Wicked. Ariana Grande's turn in Wicked as Glinda was a Cinderella moment for her acting career. It saw her earn nominations and universal praise. On top of that, I felt like her reputation amongst the general public bounced back up with people loving her again, which I thought was a nice little real-life parallel to We Can't Be Friends. I feel like a lot of people in my circles have been worried that Grande's film success would mean a music hiatus, but Grande shut us up by renaming the Sweetener account to Brighter Days and starting a fake hotline. A proper teaser dropped in early March before she revealed the existence of this album and the track list. Which brings me to my general thoughts. Eternal Sunshine was already a favorite of mine, but these new tracks with the lyrics entirely written by Grande, they not only improve the record, but prove that deluxes don't have to always be cash grabs. No shade to Positions, which had tracks that were barely 2 minutes long with its deluxe, but these tracks feel purposeful. Grande said in an interview with Variety that she didn't want to just add tracks and that while they would be short, they would count, and I felt like that sentiment rang true. Ariana reunited with that dream team of Max Martin and Ilya on most of these, which makes it sound very cohesive yet distinct in a way. A lot of people like to underplay her role as a producer in her music. I think it's very underrated. It's not a in-name vanity thing for her. You can really feel the deliberate voicing and choices on the tracks. The production on all 6 of these tracks feel like a refinement to the overall Eternal Sunshine sound. I highly recommend you get some good speakers or listen to these on your favorite headphones. Beautiful, beautiful production. The variation in genre and sounds, revisiting Grande's roots in R&B and trap pop feels so right for this project. She even brings back her confident belting, something that I felt was a little subdued in the original Eternal Sunshine record. Dandelion in particular gives us a return to Ariana's baddie era. The soft horns and the jazzy feel and the playful lyrics, it really felt like I was back in 2019, and in many ways I felt like this was a love letter to her past self, like Thank You Next and Dangerous Woman self, using it as a paintbrush to tell new stories. One song that constantly gets revisited a lot is POV, one of her all-time tender ballads off Positions, but from a wistful place, lamenting the end of that relationship that she had at the time with her ex-husband and who she was at the time. Thematically, I interpreted this record as a proper and final steps to the mourning process of a relationship. The last album had this ending that felt like an ellipses, a truthful but unsure conclusion. These 6 tracks feel like a final punctuation to that sentence. They're still dreamy and abstract, but they still feel final. It scares me quite a bit because it feels like it will be some time until we get another album from her, but this deluxe is about closure. She even references recent events that happened to her, like Holding Space and Warm, Hampstead being a nod to her time filming as Glinda, which feels like a vocal tattoo to that time period as well. The visuals, being very distinct from the original, opt for cooler tones and a more otherworldly vibe, not only feel very appropriate, but they also feel like a bookend to Eternal Sunshine. With the short film and the lyrics of the new tracks, it continues her trend of gracefully addressing and retelling the stories we hear about her from the media, but from her own lens. If you have not seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, go see it. I feel like it is a must watch at this point. And, I'm going to talk about that short film in more detail after my track by track Welcome to the track by track. We get this extended intro of End of the World. The original was very short and breezy, and honestly just perfect to me. I'd wanted a little bit more length, and what was added feels a little bit abrupt, but on purpose. Likely to set up this new side of the Eternal Sunshine persona. The new verses reference POV and supernatural, almost in the sense that she wants to possess this lost lover to force him to sense her and see things her way. The most damning line, pretending you don't regret not thinking before asking. You know, her ex really didn't know what he was getting into. He broke her heart, so she did the same. I love the accountability in the I am the bad guy because I already grieved you. But the crushing thing is he realized too late that she needed him. Closing out the song with I wish I could unneed you, so I did. That is the proper start to the erasing process. Twilight Zone is the new single, and I absolutely get it. It is a sister track to We Can't Be Friends sonically, but so different. The production is just as immaculate. I feel like the title is a reference to the classic TV show Twilight Zone, which is a show that talks about surreal and horrific realities. She compares her former relationship to kind of an episode of that. The opening line set up a disconnect as if it was just a bad dream. When she says he's in a black and white scene and she's in a gray one, it's to show that he's short-sighted, seeing things in black and white, whereas she is complicated and gray. Hope you win for Best Actress Shade because she felt tricked. I felt like it was also a meta take on her being an actress. The pre-chorus calls out her untrue ex, questioning if his new girl doesn't know the truth or if she wasn't herself when they were together. That observation, again, the accountability, I love that. The chorus is an earworm. Absolutely thought that was perfect. The contrasting between moving on with the feeling of wondering if he even happened is very profound. Verse 2 is just so smart. I love the fact that she acknowledges we know who she's singing about, even if she's protecting him, by pretending they're not about him. This song is so meta, it's diaristic, it's one of her strongest pop writing efforts. I get why it's a single. Warm had me feeling like Scarlett Johansson in that dancing gif. This is the first upbeat poppy track of the new ones. It's about ascending and finding warmth in someone new. A lot of people will not acknowledge how smart the pre-chorus is. I'll be higher than the exosphere. That's the protective layer of the atmosphere that you go to before you enter orbit. That's how safe she feels in knowing that her man will meet her there. She's not going to come back down to Earth like she felt on NASA. The chorus sees her say she's cool on her own, secure but warmer in their arms. The line about unraveling reminded me of Don't Want to Break Up Again, and other tracks about her being scared to break down in front of her past loves. Here she feels safe enough to do that. Verse 2 asks if he can hold the space she requires, which I thought was a cheeky and smart nod before asking for reassurance again on the chorus. The bridge is ethereal. I love the vocal layering and the build-up. It's very classic Ariana. This is a great track. Dandelion is another highlight of mine. It just hooked me in with those horns. The drums kick in. I was flashing back to 2019 once Ari's vocals came in. This is a very fun bop comparing her love to making wishes on dandelions, and the dandelions are a metaphor for something that I cannot say without breaking the YouTube guidelines. The pre-chorus, where she says you should plant the seed, had me gagging. This felt like a happier, lovey-dovey reversal of Bloodline off Thank You Next. I love the chorus. I think it's amazing. Boy, just don't blow this. It's a clever line before she asks him what's on the wish list. She'll be his dandelion. The visual metaphors are very sharp. I love the bridge. I think that it's very understated. It works very well. And the ad-libs at the end of the song just elevate this to a favorite of mine. Not every track needs to make you cry. That's how I know she's moved on. Past Life continues the bops, the strings on this track, the little skittering synths that accompany her soaring voice on that pre-chorus. I was in insta-love with this track. Lyrically, it's the simplest, but melodically, I think it's one of the more rich, complex ones. This is a track about locking in and realizing that you have to leave this relationship. There's a sense of urgency to it. I'm fine to leave you in my past life. It's very on the nose, but sometimes you just need to state the obvious. I think that's a pop trope. The standout line is where she says she thought he was medicine, but he was her code blue, and he thought that too. This was like a mic drop. He was killing her slowly, and she had to go. The repetition in the song feels very intentional, because it's kind of like a reassurance of yourself. It resembles delirium of being on the brink of death, and the belting throughout just makes this great. Hampstead is the final track, and I think it's an even stronger closer than Ordinary Things. It just feels so timeless. The vocals, the lyrics, the melodies actually reminded me of Billy Joel, a little bit of ABBA. Having it be the only capitalized track on the album, and for a while in her discography, it just makes so much sense. My first listen, I actually did cry, and my second listen, I realized that it's kind of addressed to us, like in We Can't Be Friends. It also touches on the ex, but it's really about us. The first verse admits that she threw her reputation away, but that was her choice. We're still wrong about everything because we're not at the table, we're not there with her. I love the shade in her saying that it's sweet that we're dumb. And the I do repetitions, it does feel like an address to her ex. I love the imagery of the pre-chorus where she's saying, even when no one's home, people are still outside. But then the chorus unravels this truth. It's very much an admission that she has no regrets. She'd rather feel pain than nothing. She knows that she can both be sugar and danger, and she'd rather be seen and alive than to wilt and die to keep someone else's point of view alive and happy. Verse 2 has her admit that the last year has been a blur, but she remembers who she is even if she's changed. My lover's just some lines and some songs really puts up a boundary. Ironically enough, I love the outro because it sees her finally kind of drop the instrumental for an acoustic, intimate vocal take where she says she'd rather be swimming with someone than drowning in a crowded room. It's a very touching ending that brings us all down to her level, like we're overhearing a conversation, a beautiful coda to this album and a chapter in her life. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the Brighter Days Ahead film. I can't not talk about this visual masterpiece. I felt like it added even more context to the record at large. It's beautiful sci-fi movie homage with nods to X-Men, Harry Potter, Frankenstein, Inside Out. It's a love letter to film. We see an elderly Peaches who goes to Brighter Days one last time to relive 4 core moments of her life rather than forget them. It's interesting because Peaches is based off Clementine from the original movie. She's lived a full life by this time. Peaches has been the daughter of the Brighter Days founder, played by her actual father, Ed. She apparently was torn apart by stray cats, maybe tied to the Boy Is Mine music video. She's lived an insane life just from these 4 moments. The tragic and touching element, the bittersweetness of this is that when she sees this for the last time with us, once the memory is seen again, it's gone forever. The whole thing feels intentionally meta, using clips from Ariana's own childhood for the first memory. 4 songs from Brighter Days make it into this film alongside the title track and fan favorite Supernatural. Memory 2 is just amazing. I think it's a performance of Eternal Sunshine and Dandelion with the ponytail coming back. It was a celebration of Ari's life as a pop star. The crowd shots seem to be taken from past concerts. Memory 3 starts with Twilight Zone, and it continues the plot line from We Can't Be Friends, even bringing back that house. Peaches wanders through the wreckage, finding a treasured necklace, which we'll come back to later. We get a visual for Supernatural seeing her in the wreckage of the town ravaged by aliens. This was actually shot on Universal's War of the Worlds set. And it ends with her being ascended and taken by the aliens. Final memory is what really got me. It is a flashback to her father giving her the necklace as a child and using science to resurrect and put Peaches back together. Hampstead is the soundtrack to this part. I think it's perfect. This section is a homage to Frankenstein, but it also reminded me of Poor Things thematically, the father-daughter bond particularly. The music bringing back Peaches back to life, that's a beautiful metaphor about how her art and her family is what has kept her going. And it's a beautiful bookend to that first memory. The burning newspaper shows the tabloids and the lies have finally been burnt away. And then we got this touching and cute clip of young Ariana telling us we have to live each day like it's its last. And I thought that it was cool that she used the acoustic version of We Can't Be Friends over the credits. Thematically, it's just a really rich, dialogue-free exploration of the album. I found that the usage of music to move things along was very inspiring. Ariana Grande might be hinting to us that her next role is a sci-fi role after Wicked because she just looks amazing in this sort of like surrealist environment. I'd love to see her do a movie in sci-fi. She just has the energy and the gravitas to really stand out. As for my closing thoughts, all in all, I really loved the Eternal Sunshine era. I consider the core record her best record to date. I did a review on that and I rated it 9.1 then. You can watch that. And over the last year, with my own life events, I have come to see it more as a 10. It still registers so beautifully. It was egregiously snubbed at the Grammys, and with these final visuals and new tracks, I'm happy to revise this as a 10 out of 10 record. If this is the last that we hear of Ari for the next few years, then what a way it was to leave us hanging, wanting more. She is truly one of the greatest pop stars of this generation, and I can't wait to see what she does next, film or music. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning into this quick review of the Eternal Sunshine Deluxe. I've had so much fun covering Ariana's career. I still plan to do a Dangerous Woman essay at some point, maybe for the 10-year anniversary. Let me know in the comments what your favorite track from the entire project was, deluxe and old tracks included. A quick shout out to my members. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and taking that extra step. A shout out to my subscribers. Thank you so much for following me and keeping tabs on my videos and commenting. You guys keep me going. I might be taking a hiatus for a little bit to focus on my own life, but I will be back with a new video eventually. So I hope to see you guys soon.